Well, folks, after a week-long hiatus and getting moved to the starting roster of a Newfoundland Church League basketball team where I scored 64 points in warm-ups and then injured my hip and had to be taken back to the bench, our good friend Brad has been moved up to the starting spot. From last reports,
Fingers crossed.
he is 6 on layups. So those are some Angel Reese numbers, and we can't be more proud than that because
Get all those me bounds.
based on all available statistics from the WNBA, that's all-star behavior. So congratulations, Brad. We'll miss you this week. We're talking about the Big Ten, which is really my baby, coming from two SEC counterparts and one big ACC fan. So this is kind of like my time to shine. So while you're starting for an actual basketball team, I'll take the starting role for bench points, and we'll go into Big Ten basketball.
There was a little bit too much Tennessee reference last podcast. We needed you there to balance me and Brad out.
We could go into Purdue first and foremost and talk about Tennessee's luck with Purdue over the course of the last 10 years. And regardless of what
cry on camera, I don't need to cry on camera.
So before we get into the Big Ten, one thing I want to say, if you're watching our videos, which not a lot of you are, so it's not like we're taking offense to anything you guys say or do, but if you're offended by what we say about your favorite team, go touch some grass, because I can promise you what we've said about your teams, we've said about ours. And we'll touch on this on bench behavior, but when we get into Kansas, who I truly despise, I hate that basketball program. They've got some crazy great traditions. I've been to their arena, Rock Chalk, right? If you love the Kansas basketball program, good on you. Not many of you do, because it's really isolated to that one area in the Midwest-ish. God knows everybody gets so freaking sensitive about what they're classified in, especially Louisville fans who are just a bridge across from Evansville, Indiana. Yeah, you're in the South. But that region is very proud of their program. They've got some great traditions. They got great history. They got a lot of national championships. If you're a Kansas basketball fan, good on you. You deserve to be happy. If you're a Bill Self fan, I don't know. Get with God. We'll talk on that more later. If you're getting really butthurt about a group of guys who have 75 followers on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, go touch some grass. But with that being said, we'll talk about the Big Ten basketball season coming up for 2025 and 2026, which I think is going to be one of the more fun conferences to watch. I think we got potentially 10 to 11 tournament teams. We'll talk about them and where we stand on whether they're contenders for a national title, whether they're like top 25 teams, or whether they're on the bubble. And then we also got some a few teams where it's just maybe get relegated.
Now that we're at 10 and 11 teams making the tournament, and that's only 50% of the conference, is just kind of crazy now.
It's absolute insanity. I personally think that the Big Ten is going to be ultra competitive in the tournament as well as throughout the season. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be must-see TV almost every game. I don't think you get a number one seed out of the Big Ten. That's going to sound controversial. I think they're going to beat the hell out of each other. I think you're going to get maybe a 2, a 3, and a 4. And you're going to pepper in that 2 through 7 range, and then you might get some 10s, some at-large bids, right?
You don't think they'll get the respect the SEC got last year?
The SEC was hands down the greatest college basketball conference season that's ever happened. And there's no arguing it. They literally could have gotten 2 more teams in outside of some bad luck. And that's still saying something. I mean, it was an incredible season, an incredible run. I don't think that's going to get touched anytime soon.
No, I'm saying that record-wise, a couple of the 1 seeds that they got was not your traditional record you see from a 1 seed, but because they got the credit for going through the SEC at the rate they did, they got the 1 seed. You don't think the Big Ten's going to get that same kind of love?
I think a few of the top teams will. Strength of schedule that you're going to see from your Purdue's and your Michigans, I think they'll get some love if they perform up to expectations. But Auburn and Florida from the SEC last year were just so unbelievably top heavy, and they won the games that they were supposed to win and lost very few of the ones that they should have lost, right? I mean, Florida beating Tennessee a couple times, right? That was
Hey, it was only once. No, twice. It was twice.
Yeah, it was twice. And then, Florida did what they were supposed to do, and Auburn did what they were supposed to do. And there was no doubt in my mind at the start of that tournament that 4 number 1 seeds was very likely in the Final Four. And the SEC shockingly should have probably had 3 with the Tennessee kind of laying an egg against
Houston.
Houston. In my mind, if Purdue would have drew a charge at the end of regulation there, we would have been talking about another Purdue-Tennessee game for a Final Four. I'm not going to dwell on the past that much, but Tennessee really had the team to do it. They just did not show up offensively, and really for the first half weren't there defensively.
Yeah, story of Rick Barnes.
I digress. On to Big Ten basketball. And I think what we need to do is get started with our national title contenders, and I do firmly believe that there are 2 of them, possibly 3 in the Big Ten. And obviously, I'm going to make my choice on who the number 1 team is, but I'm going to let Jake start us off with who he wants to talk about.
Okay. I've got 3 there. Well, 2.5-ish, maybe 2 3/4. So I go Michigan and Purdue, definitely there, and then Illinois if everything breaks right. But the first team I'm going to go into is Michigan because that's where I think the Big Ten starts and stops right now. They've got an incredible coach in Dusty May. I think they did a absolutely great job in this transfer portal. Picking up Mara out of UCLA was big for 2 reasons. One, he's huge at 7'3", and he was a defensive force in that Tennessee game and just a little unmobile. Did well when he gets minutes throughout the year. Wisconsin, he goes 22 and 5, 7 for 7 from the floor. Washington 12 and 7. USC double digits and double in the first game. It's just he never got the minutes. He couldn't break through on Mick Cronin's team. And anytime you can weaken your opponent and get stronger at the same time, it's pretty good. I love Horace Johnson Jr. grabbing him at Illinois. Once again, weakening one of your conference opponents and improving yourself.
Yep.
He's a very efficient player. Didn't get a lot of time, but he was 60% from the floor, getting the team with rebounds, even though he only averaged 17 minutes a game.
Right.
No real jump shot, no 3-ball, but that can be developed. And then grabbing Elliot Cadeau, I think this is a perfect point guard for Dusty May. Dusty May is a much better coach than Hubert Davis, and I think a lot of the mistakes you started to see when he started losing minutes last year, you won't see as much because he's got a little more help, a little more strength behind him, and with Dusty May and how that offense is going to work. Everybody forgets this dude was absolutely killing the EYBL, so much so that he reclassed and then was the top point guard in the class. So he's still very young. I think he's going to be very much improved. I mean, you saw the jump shot improve so much from freshman to sophomore year. Went from 18% from 3 to 33% from free. Nothing flashy for freshmen though. Returning some really good players with Gail Burnett and Cheddar. Add that in with the transfer class. The team is loaded with talent. The schedule is kind of where it's going to be questionable for them if they win this Big Ten or not. I mean, he gets Penn State twice, so that's lovely because that's 2 wins. But the rest of the schedule was at Purdue, at Washington, at Oregon, at Illinois, and at Iowa. I don't know that there's 5 worse teams to go to. Up. IU, USC, but a much weaker USC now that the news came out about arenas.
Right.
UCLA and Wisconsin at home.
Those aren't easy wins either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Wisconsin, I don't know. We'll get to them later. But, like, I mean, Dusty May would probably pay his whole salary for the year to flip those 2 things and get all those other teams at home. But that's just with the coaching and the talent they brought in on top of, like, and I mean, it was obvious who the top transfer is. Like, Yaxel Lendenberg is the best transfer probably in the class this year, so there's no reason to go into the guy that probably should have stayed in the draft and got drafted in the first round.
He should have, and it would have been great for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Jake, I can't argue anything you said. The combination of Cadeau, Roddy Gale, and Lendenberg on the floor at the same time is going to be dynamic. I don't think they will go a 4-game stretch where the teams that they play will out-rebound them combined. They're going to eat the glass like you wouldn't believe. That said, Elliot Cadeau cannot have Elliot Cadeau games that he had in UNC. And yeah, you can go back to coaching. The player's still the player. Some of his decision-making at UNC was very questionable at times. Now, that was in my opinion, program in disarray that kind of backed into the tournament based on a favor from a athletic director or whatever the hell he was. However, you just cannot have those F- games, especially if you're going into Mackey or you're going to Iowa. Iowa's going to be a fun team to watch this year. I don't want to play them at Iowa. And then what you mentioned before, some of their home games, Dusty May is a new coach. He's got some new styles, and he's a fun, dynamic players coach. Michigan is still not untouchable at Michigan. It's not like going into Breslin. It's not like going into Mackey. It's not like going into Assembly. They are not untouchable. So some of those games at home are easy losses. And that's where you talk about their schedule getting dicey, especially in the Big Ten, that's what could prevent them from winning the Big Ten. Now, with that being said, the kind of athletes that they got, the kind of rebounding that they have, the coach that they have in Dusty May, Yaxel Lenenberg, a complete X factor on this team, like 100% changes the way they play and how they play, really sets them up to be a Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four contender. I would not be shocked to see them at the top of the Big Ten at the end of the year. I would not be shocked to see them win the Big Ten tournament. And I also would not be shocked to see them land a 1, 2 to maybe 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and then make a good run. They're a very dangerous team. They're a very athletic team. They're going to be a fun team to watch. I'm worried about their shooting. Burnett's a good shooter, but Roddy Gale's streaky. Elliot Cadeau's streaky. He's had some of those F- games that we talked about, right? The pieces are there and they work on any particular game. They can beat any particular team. If they have one of those freezing cold nights at Mackey, they're going to get shell-shocked. If they have one of those freezing cold nights at Assembly, they're going to get dog-walked. If they go into Iowa and have one of those freezing cold nights, it's going to be bad. But I don't know how much Dusty May is going to let that.
That, and I think his defense, Jonell Davis to me from at Arkansas was the best class. Like everybody was talking about him, like he was the stud on that team, that Florida Atlantic team that Dusty May coached. He was never the same after he left Dusty May. Those 2 years at Arkansas didn't show near what he did at Florida Atlantic. And a lot of that is, I think, the caliber of coach he had, Cal to Dusty May. Like, I think there is a lot to be said for what Dusty pulls out of guys. And that's why I have a lot of faith in this Michigan team. Plus, I think they've got a really high floor for those cold nights, too, with the way they play defense.
It's a lot different than last year. Their floor is so much higher.
And I mean, last year he finished third in the Big Ten, so let's not act like it was a rough season or anything.
Right.
It was just like everybody knew coming in, first year coach, he's got to get it a little bit established, get his feet wet. I think he did very well. It just, for him, it's rough because, like you said, if the shooting's off, there's no real forgiveness with a lot of these teams. Even the next step down, like you mentioned Purdue and IU and Iowa, but like there's no forgiveness at in Lansing if Michigan State's coming to Ann Arbor, like there's no forgiveness there when the way Izzo coaches. Illinois, that's another one.
Do you want to see Washington with Yates and Claude?
No, this is a mean conference this year, and so like I think the defense will be there, and they'll keep them in a lot of these games and keep them from being blown out when they're cold. It won't shock me if they come out with 3-4 losses, kind of like UConn in what was that 23 or 24.
Yeah.
They had that rough stretch right there at the middle and dropped to a 4 seed and then went on one of the most dominant tournament runs ever.
And then followed it up with another dominant tournament run.
Yeah. Wouldn't shock me if they just kind of went through some, just because that defense is there, and then as soon as the offense turns on, they are going to be deadly.
So I guess that leads us into the other potential title contender in the Big Ten, which I could personally do an entire episode on, both from a history standpoint and why I'm afraid of my own optimism. As a fan of the Purdue Boilermakers for roughly 41 years, maybe I don't count my first year because I wasn't sentient, but this is a team. I was really excited for the 23-24 season. Coming off of a loss to a 16 seed, was just heartbreaking, devastating. It made you question Coach Matt Painter and his history with double-digit seed losses, just starting to pile up, and you start really thinking, is this the guy? And then they bring back Edey, and they run it back, and they have that incredible year with a loss to arguably one of the best tournament teams that we've ever seen in the last 25 years with the UConn. Then there was last year. For a Purdue fan, losing Zach Edey, you don't know exactly what to expect. And this is where the conversation about Braden Smith really comes in.
There was not a lot of new blood coming in last year, too.
No.
That's why a lot of the expectations were real low.
And a lot of the decision-making by Coach Matt Painter was starting to get questioned, right? You didn't hit the portal. This is the portal era, and you didn't hit it. But looking back on it, they did way better than what I personally expected them to do. They gave Houston, who was arguably a top team in the country the entire year, they gave them everything. We watched that game together, Jake. A heartbreaking finish, but what Braden Smith did in the second half of that game, to me, proved that he is the best point guard that we have seen probably in our lifetime play college basketball. He is the best point guard in the sport right now in college basketball. There's not a lot you can do to argue that. The guy's a Cousy Award winner. The guy plays 40 minutes a game. The guy carries the team on his back. The guy is the kind of person you can build a national championship team around. Give Zach Edey his flowers. Zach Edey was probably the best college basketball player that I've ever seen live. And you think losing him, Braden Smith's going to come back down to earth? He made TKR an All-American. So now you have Braden Smith, All-American, a front runner for the National Player of the Year. You have TKR, All-American, top 10 for National Player of the Year. You have Fletcher Loyer, who Fletcher Loyer does Fletcher Loyer things. He's a defensive liability, but he can shoot the lights out, right? He can punish you going to the basket. He can punish you from 3. He can punish you from 15 feet. You leave him open, you're hurting yourself. Then you add the pieces, right? You got Omer Meyer coming from Israel. Is he going to start? I don't know, but he's a two-and-done player. He's said it in interviews. He's going to go to the NBA after his second year, and there's no doubt based on his skill that he can do that. You got CJ Cox, who I think was the most fun freshman in the Big Ten last year. Obviously, that's bias, but he was fun to watch. That stretch he had against Alabama when we were at your house watching that game,
That was
just insane.
yeah.
Nate Oates did not diagram for him or TKR in that game. He was like, what the hell just happened? Ja'Carri Harris, defensive machine, got his shot going late half in the year. You got Liam Murphy, hot shooter, 40%. Reminds me of a less mean Mason Gillis. And then you got Oscar Clough. Oscar Clough is just this bear from South Dakota State who is a walking double-double. It's not a fancy double-double. It's not a sexy double-double. It's a you just got the shit kicked out of you for 12 and 12. He's going to be fun this year. He's going to add that rebounding presence. He's going to add that rim protection, along with Daniel Jacobson, who's healthy. This team is extraordinarily balanced. And this is where I start getting worried. When I get optimistic about Purdue basketball, bad things happen. The entire country, you watch Field of 68, you watch Sleepers, you listen to CBS, ESPN's done a thing about them now. They talk about player retention, what Coach Matt Painter is building, and all that fun stuff. It's fun to watch. It's fun to read. And it's fun to be excited about as a Purdue basketball fan. I am scared that TKR, who excelled by being the 5, is going to have to share the floor with potentially a 7 and a 7-4 guy. I'm afraid that Omer Meyer is not going to be ready to play the Purdue basketball that they need him to play right away, and Braden Smith's going to get 40 minutes a game again. I'm afraid that the development from CJ Cox and Ja'Carri Harris is going to be similar to the development that we saw from and Cam Heide. Like, those were cliffs of diminishing returns last year. Those were expectations not met. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but it's right in the rearview mirror. This is, and I hate saying it because the Final Four is in Indianapolis, this is a Final Four bust team. Honestly, it's a national title game or bust team.
I had that written down because I knew I didn't need to say much about Purdue, but I was just going to ask a few questions when you've finished up, and that was going to be one of those things I was going to ask. Is it title or bust for Painter this year? Like, not necessarily Purdue as a school, like Painter himself.
Yeah, so I've had my criticisms of Coach Matt Painter. He is a beloved coach. He's been with the program for over 20 years. Hell, I met the guy multiple times in my time at Purdue. People love him. I mean, you talk to Robbie Hummel, who's hands down the best college basketball broadcaster, and he's going to the NBA now. Yeah, I know. Hopefully he still does a ton of Purdue basketball games, which I still think is bias. But you talk to Robbie Hummel, he loves Coach Matt Painter. I ran into Purdue basketball players that I both met and then became familiar here in Indianapolis, run-ins in West Lafayette. Hell, Jeff and I ran into a couple players when we were out in Arizona for the Final Four a couple years ago. These guys worship Matt Painter. Matt Painter has a reputation for not getting it done in certain times. And that I know we're going to get Purdue fans coming in here and saying, oh, Matt Painter is the greatest thing that's ever happened to anything. The guy's lost to an 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 seed. How many coaches can say that? How many Purdue fans went into the Final Four 2 years ago, worried about NC State because they're an 11. That's the reality of Purdue basketball. That's the weight that we have to carry as a program. And that's a weight the fan base has to carry. Yes, Matt Painter needs this. They are set up to be good for a few years, but the window is getting more and more narrow. He needs to get it done. Had the opportunity 2 years ago, and just ran into a buzzsaw on UConn. This year is going to be a gauntlet. Their schedule is not easy. We're going to the Bama game. They've got Auburn. They've got Marquette. They've got Iowa State. They've got just an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. And then they get into the Big Ten. They're going to be battle tested. Come tournament time, if Braden Smith is still averaging 40 minutes, I'm worried about their legs. Hopefully, Omer Meyer, who is coming to Purdue based on a text message from Braden Smith, gets that program and gets the style that they want to run, and they can do line changes. You could literally go Braden Smith, CJ Cox, Fletcher Lawyer, TKR, Oscar Clough is your first five, and then immediately put in Jacobson, Harris, Meyer, Murphy, and maybe one of those starters stay in. I don't think Raleigh Burgess is going to be healthy for the year, but you have an incredibly balanced team. This is why I go back to what I said earlier. I don't think we have a National Player of the Year in this team. I don't think we're going to see it. I think there's a possibility that Braden Smith averages 20 and 9 and becomes a 1,000 assist guy, right? And that's never happened ever. I don't think. I've been wrong before. Going down as the greatest point guard in Big Ten basketball history, possibly college basketball history, right? Programs around the country are going to be glad to see the Aaron Craft of Purdue University go away. But he's been an absolute pleasure to watch. Fletcher Lawyer, TKR have been pleasures to watch. It's going to be a fun year for me. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be nostalgic. It's going to be one of those years where, like, I cry, I yell, I laugh, I celebrate, and I pout. But I'm really excited. I do think this is our legitimate best shot for a national title, and that's what scares me.
I can't really say much more. This is what I had. My biggest fear for y'all, I don't know how you feel, is your sophomores or your second year players don't make the leap you need them to. That would terrify me because Jacobson is a big question mark, right? Like he was hurt, didn't play hardly at all, if any, last year.
Yeah, he's still a freshman. He's now a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, Burgess the same minutes for
hurt late in the year. Yeah, showed flashes of some good basketball.
And then Cox and Harris showed it at times. That lineup was hard to break into, but I don't know. But that would be my biggest fear. And then Omar Meyer, does he know how to play when he's not getting the ball all the time? Because that ball was Smith, TKR, Clough/Lawyer, and then maybe him.
So,
because watching him in the overseas, like he had the ball in his hands all the time, and he's special. Does he know how to play without it?
One of the things he said here recently is he's settling for too many jumpers in international play. So when he gets to West Lafayette, they're going to have him attack the basketball, the rim. He's going to attack the basket, or he's going to need to. One thing that Smith can do, he can get to the basket. He can create those like little layups or get that little tuck pass, like that pocket pass right in the paint that just drives defenders wild. It like puts them in a blender. And then you got Fletcher Lawyer who can do that running same leg layup that just pisses off anybody that's ever watched college basketball. Omer is going to need to learn how to play with those guys, and he hasn't been there yet. He's still not in West Lafayette, which is concerning. The highlights of Clough have been fun to watch because he's shooting jumpers. I'd like to see them be able to spread the floor more, but I'd also like to see them beat folks up inside. That would they open the outside again, like they did a couple years ago. But you're right. Does he know how to play when Braden Smith is the floor general? With Israel, he had to be Braden Smith. At Purdue, we need him to be Omer Meyer.
It's going to be interesting. And then I'm surprised you didn't touch on it a little more. Murphy, I think he's an under the radar get out of the portal. Came from North Florida, same place Chaz Lanier, and they had two other guys go bigger schools, and he was the third leading scorer. I mean, the guy can shoot the lights out, 42% for the year. Yeah. The coach, I forget his name at North Florida, outstanding coach. So whoever's looking for somebody, I would be calling him up. But
40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah, it's
basing goals.
If Lawyer doesn't have it like at times. That's a great backup piece, maybe even a little bit less of a defensive liability. Yeah, but I disagree with you a little bit. I think their Big Ten schedule broke great for them this year.
It does break great for them. Like they've got the home games that they need, and their away games aren't really that brutal. But the Big Ten is a juggernaut this year.
Yeah, it's like when I say break, like it breaks the way you would want it to if you had it. Like your double ups, IU is always going to be your double up, and that sucks because the times are you're their Super Bowl, so you're going to get everything they have both times.
Right.
And they're never, and it seems like those games are never timed well. But getting like doubling up with Iowa and Wisconsin, like Iowa is a little scary, but I mean there's still a giant question mark because McCollum. We can get to that later, but McCollum's hasn't been at this level. He just brought his whole team with him again this year. So I don't know. The Wisconsin, I'm real down on. The teams are going to double up. That's
It's not a bad one.
And then getting Illinois, Michigan, Michigan State, Oregon, and Washington, all the teams that have legitimate good teams at home and not having to beat them. That's exactly how you want to design the schedule.
Yeah, and your West Coast schedule is kind of meh, honestly. So again, I don't want to get too optimistic. I do think this is a Big Ten championship team, like it's a 1 or 2. I don't think my expectations rest on them winning the Big Ten. I could give zero craps whatsoever about the Big Ten tournament. I never have. If you've locked in your 4 through 1 seed, who cares? Rest your players. What was I saying last year? Like, why is Braden Smith playing 40 minutes? Like, why? But it's Braden Smith. You have to kill him to get him off the court. Yeah, I don't care about the Big Ten. I don't care about the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. I care about this team getting to a Final Four. I care about getting to Indianapolis and watching Purdue play for a national championship again. That's what I want to see. I've got a 2-year-old son who has lived through a Purdue Final Four, something that I never got to do until I was in my 40s. And the opportunity for me to possibly take him to that and be able to tell him 10 years from now, hey, our Boilers did it, would be pretty cool.
This to me is the team that makes it or break it for a Painter, because if it doesn't happen for him, it's always going to be Edie carried him there. It's not.
Yeah.
And he's a much better coach than that. But I mean, he had that Matty February nickname for a long time.
Yeah.
That will come raging back if stuff doesn't start happening, because the way that ended last year with an inbounds play that was designed specifically to counter what Painter's done all year was, when I first watched it, I wasn't sure, but I've watched it several times since then. That Sampson scouted Painter so much.
Oh, yeah.
That was drawn up to get that layup and to be that predictable and a game winning. That's rough as a coach.
From a Purdue fan, we were walked out of the gym in the first half. And Smith showed why he is the best college basketball player in the country in the second half. He shredded an incredible Houston defense, picked them apart. You got some clutch shots. Cam Heidi hitting that corner 3 to tie it. Braden Smith took a charge. Houston got the ball underneath the basket and designed one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen in college basketball that completely countered everything that Matt Painter wanted to do defensively and got the cleanest look and the cleanest bucket that you will ever see with less than 2 seconds left on the clock, and absolutely deserved to win that game.
Yeah, it was unreal. But
Yep.
where do you stand on Illinois? Illinois is the half 3/4 team I have there. Like, I'm not 1,000% sure, but I think if you watched last episode, it's kind of very similar to Arizona. I think that if things break right, they are very much the talent level to be a Final Four, but they've also got the floor to be very easily upset and out of the tournament on day one.
Some of the most fun tournament teams that we've watched over the last 25 years have shot more three-pointers than we'll ever care to imagine and have had some of the greatest offenses in the world. This team is going to shoot 768 three-pointers a game, and they might average 40%. They are going to be an incredibly fun team to watch. They are not going to be an incredibly fun team for your team to go play. Now, if your team is athletic and plays relatively decent defense, can close out, and has a respectable offense, you will beat up Illinois. I don't see defensive prowess anywhere in this roster. I see Petrovic, international signee. I see the Ivichis, both of them, 7-footers that shoot 43 pointers a year. I see Stojakovic, Boswell, the only name we can actually pronounce.
Yeah, I was hoping I got to say that one.
I see Markovic. I see Brandon Lee. I see Jake Davis. I see Ty Rogers. I see so much offense in this lineup. Brad Underwood is effectively coaching the Serbian national team, and they will be incredibly fun to watch until your team plays them. Now, there's going to be some rim pressure. They're going to go toe-to-toe with everybody. Do you think their defense is a big enough liability to keep them out of a Sweet 16, Elite 8, top 4 in the Big Ten?
That's what I was saying. Like that's why the floor could be even missed a tournament low for them. Like this team could very easily could play the same team twice on back-to-back days, beat them by 30 one time and lose by 50 the next time.
Yep.
It just depends if those jump shots are going. That's how a lot of the game today is. If those threes are going, you win. If they're not, you lose. And this team is set up for three ball. We have 2 7-footers. Hopefully, can grab the long rebound before you jump up and get it. It's a lot of that. There's a little more speed on here with Boswell and Rogers and stuff than they're given credit for. But I don't think, Underwood, he's a pretty good defensive coach, but not the greatest. And I don't know that they've got the lateral speed here to really shut down teams. But the thing is, in the Big Ten, nobody's playing that fast. It's a more slower paced league for the most part. Like you're not going to run into a team playing Houston style that is pressure front run or like Arkansas or stuff like that. Or back in the day, that you don't have the 40 minutes of hell type teams. You don't have the St. John's and all that. You've got teams that play a slower game for the most part, and try to shoot a bunch of threes, and that's what this team's built for. So it's built to go through the Big Ten if they can just get the defense to step up. But their floor could be missed the tournament if this doesn't work out well. The Big Ten is a slaughterhouse, and
I don't
it
see
could be very well. We're looking at a losing record in the Big Ten, and it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I don't see them missing the tournament. And I think you're right. I think their floor is a 10 seed, maybe a playing game. Like that's if they shoot 30% on the season and run into some buzzsaws. I think their ceiling is Elite 8. I think they could potentially sneak in and win the Big Ten. Come tournament time, I think they'll have something to play for. So like the Big Ten tournament, I can see them winning the Big Ten tournament. I could also see them being that team that you follow throughout the NCAA tournament that shoots 50, 60% from 3 in one game and everybody gets excited about. And then they run into a Tennessee or Houston who actually plays defense and closes out, and it becomes a rock fight that, a team that can score 120 points in a game is all of a sudden like struggling at 59 points with 3 minutes left with a team that's up 2 and they don't have an answer. It's a question mark team. It's going to be fun to watch, and I can't wait for the Serbian nationals to show up in droves in Illinois and maybe get some of that like multinational vibe in the crowd where they like start setting off the smokers and all that stuff.
Yeah, let's do it all. I mean, Illinois it's never talked about as one of the toughest places to play, but I've not been to a game there, but on TV it looks like it's always rocking, and it's always the only thing to do in town, so that place is packed, and they've got a good team, and threes and dunks is what this team will have, and that's what gets the crowd going, and so it should be an incredible home court advantage this year.
The student section's on top of that court, dude.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfectly designed. I love it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've got one of the easier Big Ten schedules too.
Yeah, I can see them winning the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I can see them finishing 5th in the Big Ten. I can see them finishing 7th in the Big Ten. It's like all 3 scenarios are in my head where they can do really great or they can do real bad. And I'd sit here on this podcast and tell you I'm not surprised. I can see them going into Mackey and being like, I'd just put up a 15-point win in Mackey Arena, and we got hot. Any team that shoots 48% from the 3-point line and 58% from the floor, UCLA, I think they're a tournament team. I think they've got almost an even floor with the ceiling. I think they're your Big Ten contenders. I don't think they're competing for a national title. And this might be the team that keeps Mick Cronin wanting to stay in.
I've got the opposite opinion. I don't think this team was built to succeed.
You don't?
No. Recruiting was near non-existent. Like, there's nothing exciting. I mean, and then the pieces he adds, Donovan Dent and Xavier Booker, two guys that Dent made the floor because he could score at will in the Mountain West Conference, which isn't a bad conference, but once again, it's not the Big Ten, and did not play any defense. It was a glaring hole. And Xavier Booker, who could not get the floor on Izzo's team because he couldn't play defense or really. He wants that dude. I've never seen a 7-foot guy besides Miles Turner want to be a guard so much in
Yeah.
life. Like I watched him play. I watched him play when he was the number 3 recruit here, like down the road from the house, and my man had 2 points on one putback dunk. The rest of the time, he wanted to be on the 3-point arc. I don't see how Cronin puts this team together to be successful. I've got them on the bubble because the talent is there. Like if Dent and Booker carry the offensive load and everybody else plays defense, but I don't see the way this team is built to succeed, and I hope I'm wrong because usually it's always fun to watch. But
I definitely think they're a tournament team. But as you were talking, I was kind of looking at some of the notes I took. Daly and Bilodeau have 0 rim protection. Is that going to survive a Clough and TKR game? Probably not. Now that you mention it, yeah, Booker doesn't play defense. He can score, but he doesn't play defense. Donovan Dent can score. Does he play defense? No. I think our boy Brad might have made a bad pick there.
Yeah.
But
we were too nice when he picked it.
I think the floor and the ceiling are right here. I think we're looking at top 5 Big Ten. Could shock you. Could second weekend.
Well, I've got them
on the bubble. What about whiskey?
Whiskey, I'm way down on Wisconsin. I don't like Greg Gard as a coach in general. I don't know. He seems to do less with more than most coaches do. And I just don't think they're very talented. I think their schedule is punishing. Of the top half of the Big Ten, only Iowa, Michigan State, and UCLA come visit Wisconsin. The rest of the time, they're going to everywhere. And I mean, that's a lot of room to make a lot of mistakes in Bloomington, out of Washington, in Maryland with Buzz coaching now, like even Nebraska with Hoiberg. Like their schedule's punishing. They're not an overly talented team. I'm not a big fan of Gard. So I've got them right on the edge between the bubble and the pretender level. I'm not a big fan of this team.
Boyd and Blackwell are going to be what saves or kills that team. Blackwell is going to be a Big Ten Player of the Year contender, all Big Ten player. Boyd's a fun transfer. San Diego State's always been fun. They don't have any interior defense. They have absolutely 0 depth. I think they're going to be a tournament team. I think they're going to have one of those offenses that they give you fits. I think roster shoots 35% from 3, total, which is pretty decent.
To be like Clemson last year,
but not a scared shitless Clemson.
I don't know. We'll see. It's like I said, I don't have that much respect for Greg Gard.
Well, I'll put a little sticky note on my Wisconsin notes and say, let's go back to this mid Big Ten season.
Yeah, I would love to. I hope I'm wrong because I'd like to apologize because Wisconsin's, when they're good, they're fun, but this is not that team. And one of my biggest question marks, I've got them in the second tier as Michigan State. Like, so much of this team is trusting that Cohen Carr made a big enough step up. The roster is not that loaded. Is a top tier coach. I trust him. There's a lot of trust that I'm putting there, but this team to be not on the bubble-ish, to be solidly in the talking top 6 seeds, Cohen Carr's got to step up and be able to do something besides jump.
He's going to have the loudest 10 points a game in the history of Big Ten basketball.
If it's only 10, they're not doing enough. Like, I think he's got to be 12 to 15. He's got to be able to hit a couple jump shots.
I don't know. I was high on Michigan as a tournament team until Caleb Glenn went out for the year.
Yeah.
My only comment I will make on Michigan State at this point is their saving grace is Coach Tom Izzo and Breslin. One of the greatest arenas. I've had the pleasure of going a couple times. Fantastic place to watch a basketball game, and love him or hate him, Tom Izzo is one of the greatest to ever do it. That alone will get you through the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. When's the last time you missed a tournament? Like the Civil War, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an outrageous feat. That's why they're not in that top tier. Because with Glenn and Izzo, you're looking at a team where you don't need Carr to step up as much, but the team is lacking a one option really to me for offense, and that's a recipe for disaster and close games.
Cohen, Carr, to me,
From a Tennessee fan that is really seeing the struggles that happens with when we don't have a Dalton Connect or a Chaz Lanier. When you don't have a one option at the end of the game, that is a scary, scary feeling.
Cohen, Carr, to me, is this year's Miles Coleman. Miles Coleman and Cam Heidi had some of the loudest points that you'll ever watch in a Purdue basketball game, and those little flickers would make you believe in all the potential in the world, but it just wasn't getting there. If Cohen Carr comes out and makes this huge jump, I will issue an apology. I will not buy a Cohen Carr jersey because I'm starting to go broke. But I see him as this year's Miles Coleman. I loved Miles Coleman. I wish nothing but the best for him in Wake Forest. I love Cam Heidi. I hope he does well in Texas. It's going to be an interesting year for them. Two incredible athletes that had incredibly loud points that were ultimately disappointing. That is my 2025-2026 Cohen Carr.
You know what? Michigan State still has fears, though, so that
Yeah.
that's something you can depend on. But I just you don't have anything else, and that's scary. Look, this is frustrating because Elijah Arena's going out. I had USC as a sleeper team to be up there. I loved not Musted in the portal this year. Completely rebuilt this team. Now you don't have Arenas, so that kind of hurts. But like you had Chad Baker-Mazara, he's good for 2 wins that you shouldn't win and maybe 3 losses that you should have won. But adding Rodney Rice, who should have been a Tennessee Vol, was an absolute stud player. I like the pickup of Marsh, almost 20-4 last year. And I mean, I think Asar will break out under Must. I just think the loss of Elijah Arenas really hurts this team. We'll
I
see.
don't. I'm going to deviate here a little bit. That hurts them in the sense where it's like he'd been a fun player to watch all year, and he would have been gone next year.
Like this year, the talent, him having that talent on that team would have.
I think Rodney Rice is going to be fun. I think Baker Mazara is going to be fun to watch. I think Kofi is going to be fun to watch. I think Musselman did a great job of going out and picking up some pieces. He lost Desmond Claude and Yates, who, in my experience watching USC, those were the highlights of their team, those 2 guys. When Claude went out, Yates stepped up. When Yates went out, Claude stepped up. And they were both fun to watch. And they're both over in Washington, and they get to play each other. So we got a piece-together USC team with missing a top 10 player, playing a piece-together Washington team that has the best pieces of the 2024-2025 USC team. Fun to watch, bubble team. Sad to hear about Arenas.
Without Arenas, I drop him down to the bubble. I had him as a sleeper with him, and now not. But, one of the teams that scares me the most in this Big Ten, and I would terrify me if I was a fan of any Big Ten team, is Oregon.
Yep. Okay, thank God, because I was like, if we're skipping Oregon, I'm going to have a problem with you, Jake, because I'm looking at their roster right now.
It was last year.
They are not deep. However, their top 5 is going to be one of the best top 5s in the Big Ten. Shellstead, absolutely fun to watch, fantastic basketball player. TK Simpson from Elon, incredible pickup. Devin Pryor from Texas, incredible pickup. Evans Jr., fun to watch. Nate Biddle, who is 43 years old. He went to high school in Twin Lakes. We graduated together. We share the same AARP membership. Kidding, not from Monticello. Nate Biddle, one of those guys that, you got 3 big guys on the floor at the same time that can shoot. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I think they're a tournament team. I think they're the team that you don't want to go into Oregon. You could be on a 6-game winning streak going into Oregon and be like, shit, well, here we go. You got to go get one guy. You got 3 bigs. You have to get 38 minutes out of all those guys and keep them out of foul trouble. But this is a second weekend team.
This team would scare the living daylights out of me. You're looking at a team that absolutely destroyed Liberty. That was a very decent Liberty team coming out of the mid-major and took Arizona to the brink last year. Returns almost everything, adds some key pieces. But look, Dana Altman is what I know him best as from like the Pac-12 days and stuff. They would struggle at the beginning of the year. Struggle in non-conference, struggle in the first couple weeks of conference play, but by the time the conference tournament is coming around, you're looking at one of the best playing teams out there. Does it every year.
Yep.
It's like Altman's like half retired out there in Oregon, like fishing or hunting season ends, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, now I can coach basketball."
Right.
And does it? It's just unreal. He's got such a knack for that. I think he's extremely underrated as a coach. I don't think he gets enough love, partially because he's way out there on the West Coast and most people don't stay up that late to watch Oregon play. But it would terrify me. It would not shock me to see them in the Elite Eight fighting for the four berth, especially with what they brought back and added.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'd be scared silly of this team.
I think they're a second weekend team, but you got to get 38 minutes out of your top five. All right. It was inevitable, but here we are. We're going to be talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Because of my bias, Jake, I give you the floor.
Like, my notes are simple on this. They're a giant question mark, right? They didn't return anything. You're looking at a mid-major all-star team with
That's my exact note.
Look at DeVries. Like, it's his first year in the Big Ten. We'll see. I think he's a great coach. I think Indiana will be really good in a few years. Unfortunately, it's just a rough year to have your first one, and who knows how healthy DeVries is after his shoulder. Whether you buy the rumors out of West Virginia or not, that's a different story for a different day. But trust the kid. Say his shoulder was hurt. His biggest thing was a shooter. That's scary. And you're bringing a bunch of very good mid-major players, and you're hopefully DeVries is a good enough coach to. I think this year, if Indiana makes a tournament berth, the Big Ten needs to be scared for the next few years.
Yeah.
There's a ton of money in that program, and then that means they've got a very good coach.
Now, if you miss the tournament, is he immediately on the hot seat because of that program and the money they have?
I don't think the first year. They gave Woodson an extra year when it was obvious it wasn't going to happen. Because, look, DeVries is benefiting from a lot of external factors here, right? You've got the whole Woodson thing, and he's a fresh young face. He plays a much more fun basketball, so he's going to be able to keep the fans around more. But also the salary cap thing that's coming in is going to limit how much money gets put in. Because, after the $20.5 million, it's got to go through Deloitte accounting firm if you pay a player north of $600. So you've got to have these guys got to be doing legitimate stuff for you to get that money. And I don't know how the effects of that are going to give him a lot of leeway that wouldn't have been there if it was cut $100 million check and go get your team. I think that's his saving grace a bit, but I don't know. It's a giant question mark, so we'll see.
My note on this team is this is the most 1987 basketball team I've ever seen constructed. I don't see a ton of athleticism. I don't see a ton of break it down, rim protection kind of stuff that you like to see out of Indiana basketball teams. But I do see a mid-major all-star team, as you mentioned earlier. I see a team that can be dangerous. I think they'll be fun. We have dinner on Friday night with an IU basketball fan. So maybe we'll pick his brain and see what he feels and then talk about it next week. I think we'll talk about them every week when we get into the season because I think they're, like you said, they're a big mystery. I think when they beat a top 25 team, I think we'll come on here and talk about, and not surprised they beat a top 25 team, but then when they lose to a quad 4 team, we're like, yeah, I'm not surprised they lost to a quad 4.
Yeah.
So
one of the other big question marks I have on this Big Ten season is Iowa. Like, love the coach, love McCullough. Recruiting, not so sure.
Starts?
Love the fact he brought Drake with him, right? But Drake was in a mid-major conference. That's where the question mark is, right?
Mid-major all-stars.
He brought his mid-major team that was very good, very, very good, but didn't have to go through the ringer that these power conferences have to go through. Are the legs really there? The only freshman he brought in, and I just want to mention this because he's from Greenville, Tennessee, was Trey Thompson. Love it. Greenville is nowhere near a basketball hotbed. A fact that this kid came out of there is incredible. I think maybe in a few years when he gets his legs under him and figures out what kind of players he needs. I'm just not sure Drake was good enough last year and especially with the pieces he added to compete at the top tier of the Big Ten. If the Big Ten doesn't get the same respect the SEC got last year, a 500 record in the Big Ten might not be good enough.
Right. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I think the McCollum era is going to be a lot better than the McCaffrey era, and I'm tired of seeing those kids play for that team. I am so done with Sanfords and McCaffreys that it's good for Big Ten basketball. This year might not be it, but I think they can sneak in, but that's probably their ceiling.
I'm going to rapid fire these next ones and we'll let you pitch in.
Ohio State, 2 teams brought back their top 3 scorers. Purdue and Ohio State. Ohio State, I don't think you want to play, but also it's not that daunting on the schedule. Can they sneak into the tournament? Maybe.
Yeah. Look, Washington, top recruiting class in the Big Ten, which was wild. Just if you just consider the freshmen. But a low sprinkle, kind of see some improvement out of it this year.
Excited for Yates and Claude.
Yep. Look, Maryland brought in Buzz. That dude lives to coach for the bubble. It's rare that he makes it off of it one way or the other. I mean, he's always on the bubble, so I feel like that's where Maryland is going to be for the next 5 to 10 years while he's there. Nebraska, my note for Nebraska is, why not? Not a trash team, but nothing to be impressed with.
It's got a freaking Sanford on it. Minnesota, excited for the Medved era.
Yeah, it's not this year.
It's again a mid-major all-star team. There is not one high major guy on that team. Anyway.
We can't leave out Northwestern, okay? Look, their 2 best players unfortunately play the same positions.
Chris Collins deserves better. I love that guy. Classy dude. The Northwestern game at Purdue a couple years ago, where he got the technical at the end of the game, walked off and stopped and hugged Zach Edey. You know what? That guy is. He's a fun coach. He deserves better. Yeah, I want better for Chris Collins. That's what I'll say about Northwestern.
All right, so that leaves us with our bench behavior. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Look, I'll just go back into bench behavior real quick, and we'll talk about the teams that you love that we hate. And look, the internet is a fun place where you guys get to expel whatever poor opinions that you have. I say that because we have poor opinions. That's why we're on the bench. We are not sleepers. We are not Field of 68. We don't have 1 million followers. So we have the luxury of not giving a shit about what you think. That being said,
we're also not going to run away from it. But when we get halfway through this Big 12 season and Kansas has got a 17-game lead on the number 2 Houston and has just destroyed them twice, I will come on here and gladly just let you throw rotten fruit at me and apologize and say I am terrible at this.
And you know what I'll say, Jake, about that is, guess what? Kansas is a great basketball program. Kentucky is a great basketball program. Arkansas is a great basketball program.
Well, let's stretch more.
Well, it's going to be. They got a national championship in the last 30 years, right?
No,
I'm going to take that back.
Just barely. 94.
Yeah. I'm gonna take that back. They're not a great program. They've got some great players coming into that school. And you guys can sit there and say, yeah, we've got great programs. We're blue bloods. We've got national titles. What do you have, Purdue fan? I got a coach that hasn't had any wins vacated. Tennessee's got a coach that doesn't have any wins vacated. Now go back to the Bruce Pearl. That shit's legal now. Same thing with IU and Kelvin Sampson. But look, if you're going to die on the hill of Coach Cal and Bill Self, die on that hill, I won't bring you flowers. Go kick rocks with no shoes on. You've had more wins vacated than some programs have in D1 basketball. Don't be proud that Bill Self is your coach. He came in and there was some recruiting questions when he was in Illinois, and that program took a while to recover from his departure. Kansas, there was questions from day one. He got caught, and then he got caught again, and the NCAA gave him a golden parachute out. It was a slap on the wrist compared to what coaches 15 years ago would have gotten. I'm sorry. If That's the hill you guys want to die on. By all means, die. Whatever. I don't care. I still hate Bill Self. I still hate Calipari. I think they're crooked. I think the way they build their programs is unethical. However, they have coached at some of the most phenomenal basketball schools in the world, and nothing can take that away. So, love the program. Great. You have a lot of history. You have a lot of tradition. You have a lot of success. And guess what? You have a lot of banners, and that's cool. But if I had a banner from a team coached by Bill Self, I don't know how well I would sleep on that pillow. So good luck with your morals, and we'll be here trashing your coach from this day to the end of whatever podcast that we decide to do until our 74 followers decide that they're done with us. Our hearts won't be broken, our sleep won't be lost, and guess what? We'll all be just fine.
Look, hey, speaking of morals, a little lighthearted on the bench behavior here. Got to end on a good fun one. BYU and your suspended players for having sex, like this already killed a tournament run that you had with Jimmer Fredette, and now you lose probably the best quarterback you've had in maybe possibly ever. And now I mean, he's gone, and like. So and then you've got arguably the number one player coming in, and AJ DeBonsa, like
For Kansas fans, that's not correct.
yeah. I mean, like I said, arguably, like
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But he's going to spend a year there, knowing that. Like, I mean, have you seen those TikTok Mormon moms and whatnot? They got a whole freaking show about doing debaucherous things.
Dude,
And
I've been
making the
watching
college
the
kid
Lori
that couldn't
Vallow
drink.
case. Yeah, the Mormon stuff is kind of went off a cliff of diminishing returns for a little bit there. That's why I think BYU stepped in and said, "Hey, we're going to spend $20 million on a basketball program." With the suspensions for having sex looming, my parting words on this bench behavior issue is Godspeed, AJ. Best of luck to you. You are a very wealthy individual. You have a ton of NBA potential. I don't know. Keep it in your pants.
Good luck.
But Godspeed, you're gonna need it, brother. I mean, it's it's gonna be dicey.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I think I see the coach waving us back. I think we screwed around long enough.
yeah, we gotta wrap it up. So, look, it's been fun, and for your sensitivities about corrupt basketball coaches, I will end on this note. We don't care.
And if you made it this far, you're already part of the bench mob. So hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more chaos. Bench Points is on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you pretend to know ball.
Next week's the SEC, so get ready for Brad and Jake to explain how this is finally the year Tennessee's offense doesn't disappear in March.